I accidentally sent my boss a photo that was definitely not meant for her. And instead of firing me on the spot, she texted back 3 words that made my heart stop. Come to my office, which is when I realized my entire career was about to end over one stupid mistake. Before I tell you what was in that photo and what happened when I walked into her office, tell me in the comments which city you are watching from and make sure to subscribe to the channel to help support more stories like this. My name is Harper, and I had been working as a marketing coordinator at a tech startup in Seattle for exactly 11 months when I made the worst mistake of my professional life. My boss, Adrienne Walsh, was the kind of woman who commanded respect just by walking into a room. She was in her late 30s, always impeccably dressed in designer suits, with dark hair cut in a sharp bob and green eyes that seemed to see right through any excuse or half-truth. She was brilliant, demanding, and terrifying in the way that truly competent people can be when they have zero tolerance for mediocrity. I had spent almost a year trying desperately to impress her, staying late to perfect presentations, volunteering for extra projects, and generally doing everything I could to prove I deserved to be on her team. The problem was that somewhere along the way, my professional admiration had crossed a line into something much more complicated. I had developed a massive crush on my boss, which was both cliché and completely hopeless. Adrienne was brilliant and beautiful and so far out of my league that even fantasizing about her felt presumptuous. So I kept it to myself, channeling all those feelings into being the best employee I could possibly be. I told myself that working for her was enough, that being in her presence every day was more than I had any right to ask for. And for 11 months, that worked fine. Until the morning I was getting ready for work and decided to take a selfie. It was nothing scandalous, just me in my apartment wearing a silk robe I had bought on a whim, my hair still damp from the shower, feeling unusually confident about how I looked. I took the photo intending to send it to my best friend Emma with a message about finally feeling good in my own skin. I pulled up my messages, typed out a quick text to Emma, attached the photo, and hit send without really looking at what I was doing. Then I finished getting ready, made coffee, and headed to the office completely unaware that I had just sent that photo to the wrong person. I did not realize my mistake until I was sitting at my desk reviewing the morning's analytics reports. My phone buzzed with a text, and when I looked down, I saw Adrienne's name on the screen. My stomach dropped even before I read the message because Adrienne never texted me directly unless something was urgent or wrong. The message was short. Did you mean to send me that photo? I stared at the screen, confused, and pulled up my sent messages to see what she was talking about. That is when I saw it. The photo I had taken that morning, the one with me in nothing but a robe looking directly at the camera with bedroom eyes, had gone to Adrienne instead of Emma. The world seemed to tilt sideways. I could not breathe, could not think, could only stare at my phone in absolute horror while my brain tried to process the magnitude of what I had done. I had sent my boss, my intimidating, professional, completely unattainable boss, a photo of me looking like I was ready for a romantic evening. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type a response. I am so sorry. That was meant for my friend. I am mortified. Please delete it. I hit send and immediately wanted to throw my phone out the window and myself after it. The 3 dots indicating she was typing appeared, and I watched them with the kind of dread usually reserved for natural disasters. Finally, her response came through, "Come to my office." That was it. 3 words. No context, no tone, nothing to indicate whether she was angry or amused or planning to fire me on the spot. I stood up on shaky legs, smoothed down my skirt with trembling hands, and made the longest walk of my life across the open office to Adrienne's corner office. Every step felt like walking toward my own execution. I could see her through the glass walls, sitting at her desk looking at her phone, and my stomach twisted into knots. I knocked softly on her door frame even though the door was open. "You wanted to see me?" I managed to say, my voice coming out smaller than I intended. She looked up, her expression unreadable, and gestured to the chair across from her desk. "Close the door and sit down," she said calmly. I did as I was told, my heart hammering so hard I was sure she could hear it. Once I was seated, she set her phone down on the desk between us, the screen still showing my photo. "So," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "That was an interesting way to start my morning." "I am so sorry," I said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "It was a complete accident. I meant to send it to my friend Emma, and I must have clicked your name by mistake. And I swear it was not meant to be inappropriate or unprofessional. And if you want me to resign, I completely understand. She held up a hand to stop my panicked rambling. Harper, she said, and there was something in her tone that made me actually look at her instead of staring at my hands. Take a breath. I sucked in air, realizing I had barely been breathing. Now, she continued, let me ask you something. If you meant to send that photo to your friend, what was the context? What were you telling her? I felt my face flush hot with embarrassment. I was just telling her that I finally felt good about myself. It was not supposed to be anything weird, just a confidence thing. Adrian nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving mine. And you sent it to me by accident because you have me saved in your phone right below Emma? Yes, I whispered. I am so sorry. I know this is completely inappropriate, and I understand if you want me to leave the company. She was quiet for a long moment, studying me with those piercing green eyes. Then she picked up her phone, did something with it, and set it back down. I deleted it, she said, as you requested, and as far as anyone needs to know, this conversation never happened. Relief flooded through me so intensely I felt lightheaded. Thank you. Thank you so much. I promise it will never happen again. I am sure it will not, she said, and I thought that was the end of it, that I was dismissed, that I had somehow survived career suicide by accident. But then she said something that changed everything. Can I ask you something else? She said, her voice softer than I had ever heard it. Of course, I said, still ready to agree to anything that meant keeping my job. Why do you have a photo of me as your phone background? My blood turned to ice. I had completely forgotten about that, about the professional headshot of Adrian I had saved from the company website and set as my lock screen background months ago, telling myself it was for work purposes, to remind me of professional goals. But the truth was, I just wanted to see her face every time I looked at my phone. I saw it when you were showing me those market research slides last week, she continued. Your phone was on the table and a notification came through. It was definitely my photo. I could not speak, could not move, could only sit there drowning in mortification. Harper, she said gently, do you have feelings for me? The question hung in the air between us, and I knew in that moment that I could lie, could make up some excuse about professional admiration, could try to salvage some shred of dignity, but I was so tired of hiding it, and after the morning I had already had, what was one more humiliation? Yes, I whispered, unable to meet her eyes. I know that is completely inappropriate, and I will absolutely transfer to a different team or department if you want me to. I have never acted on it and I never would. I just think you are incredible, and somewhere along the way, professional respect turned into something more, and I am so sorry. I finally forced myself to look up at her, expecting to see disgust or pity or anger. Instead, I saw something that looked almost like tenderness. You think I had not noticed? She asked softly. My heart stopped. What? Harper, you are not nearly as subtle as you think you are. The way you look at me sometimes, the way you find excuses to stay late when I am working late, the way you remember every little thing I mention in passing. I have known for months. I wanted to disappear into the floor. I am so sorry, I tried to keep it professional. You did keep it professional, she said. That is not what I am upset about. You are upset? I asked, confused because she did not look upset. She stood up and walked around her desk, and I realized she was coming to sit in the chair beside me instead of staying behind the authority of her desk. When she was seated next to me, close enough that I could smell her subtle perfume, she said something that made my entire world shift. I am upset because I have been trying very hard not to develop feelings for my incredibly talented, dedicated, and beautiful employee, and this morning I received a photo that made that considerably more difficult. I stared at her, certain I had misheard. I am sorry, what? She smiled, and it was the first time I had ever seen her smile at me like that, warm and genuine and a little bit vulnerable. Harper, I have been attracted to you since about 3 weeks after you started. But you work for me, and I have ethics and professional standards, and I was not about to abuse my position of authority by pursuing someone on my team. You are attracted to me, I repeated, unable to process what I was hearing. Extremely, she said. But I buried it because it was the right thing to do. And then this morning I opened my phone and saw you looking at the camera like that, and my first thought was not about professional boundaries or HR policies. It was that you are stunning, and I wanted to know who you were sending that photo to. It was supposed to be for Emma, I said stupidly, still trying to catch up. I figured that out, she said with a small laugh. But I will admit, for about 30 seconds I was irrationally jealous of Emma. You were jealous, I said, testing the words. Very, she confirmed. Which is when I realized I have been lying to myself about how well I have been handling this attraction. We sat in silence for a moment, both of us processing this impossible conversation. So, what do we do now? I finally asked. She sighed and ran a hand through her hair, a gesture I had never seen her make before. Ethically, nothing. You work for me. I cannot pursue a relationship with someone who reports to me. It would be an abuse of power. My heart sank even as I understood the logic. Right, of course. However, she continued, and I looked up hopefully. If you were to transfer to a different team, one where I would not be your direct supervisor, that would change things. You want me to transfer? I asked. I want you to have options, she said carefully. If you transfer, we would no longer have a power imbalance issue. You would be free to make your own choices without worrying about your career being affected. And I would be free to ask you to dinner without it being ethically problematic. You want to ask me to dinner, I said, still trying to wrap my head around this entire conversation. She met my eyes directly. I want to ask you to dinner. I want to get to know you outside of work. I want to see if this thing between us is real or just workplace proximity, but only if that is something you want too, and only after we resolve the reporting structure issue. What if I do not want to transfer? I asked. I love working with you. I love this team. Then we maintain professional boundaries, she said simply. I will never put you in a position where you have to choose between your career and something personal. Your job is safe regardless of what you decide. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw that she meant it. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need, she said. But Harper, that photo is going to live in my head rent-free for a very long time. I felt my face heat up, but this time it was not entirely from embarrassment. You really liked it? I really should not answer that question while you still report to me, she said, but there was warmth in her eyes that answered it anyway. I left her office in a daze, returning to my desk like I was walking through a dream. The rest of the day passed in a blur, my mind constantly replaying our conversation, trying to believe it had actually happened. That evening, I called Emma and told her everything. So let me get this straight, she said when I finished. You accidentally sent your hot boss a sexy photo, and instead of firing you, she confessed that she has been into you for months? That is the summary. Yes, I confirmed. Harper, this is literally the plot of a romance novel, Emma said. Please tell me you are going to transfer teams. I do not know, I admitted. I love my job. I love working with her. What if I transfer and it ruins everything? What if you do not transfer and you spend the rest of your life wondering what might have been? Emma countered. She had a point. I spent the weekend thinking about it, weighing my options, trying to figure out what I really wanted. Monday morning, I made my decision. I went to HR and requested a transfer to the product team, citing wanting to expand my skill set. They were surprised but accommodating, and within a week, I was reporting to a different supervisor on a different floor. My last day on Adrian's team was bittersweet. She took the whole team out for lunch and made a speech about my contributions and growth, and the entire time I could feel her eyes on me with an intensity that had nothing to do with professional respect. When we got back to the office, she pulled me aside. So, she said quietly, you really did it. I really did it, I confirmed. Any regrets? She asked. Ask me again after dinner, I said, surprising myself with my boldness. She smiled, that same warm, genuine smile from her office. Are you free Friday night? I am now, I said. Then let me take you somewhere nice, she said. Somewhere we can actually talk without worrying about who might see us or what it might look like. I would like that, I said softly. Friday came both too slowly and too fast. I changed outfits 4 times before settling on a simple black dress that made me feel confident without trying too hard. Adrienne picked me up at 7, and when I opened my door and saw her standing there in dark jeans and a silk blouse instead of her usual suit, it hit me that this was real, that this was actually happening. Dinner was at a small Italian restaurant tucked away in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where you could actually have a conversation without shouting over background noise. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing, discovering all the things about each other that you cannot learn in an office setting. She told me about growing up in Boston, about her family, about the relationship that ended badly 5 years ago and made her throw herself into work. I told her about my parents, about moving to Seattle for college and falling in love with the city, about my fears and dreams and all the messy, complicated parts of myself I usually kept hidden. "I have to confess something," she said as we shared tiramisu for dessert. "What?" I asked. I did not actually delete that photo as quickly as I said I did. I looked at it for a solid 5 minutes first. I felt my face flush. "Adrienne." I know, she said, but she was grinning. "But you looked so beautiful, and I am only human." I did delete it eventually, but it was not easy. "You are terrible," I said, but I was smiling too. "Probably," she agreed. "But you knew that when you agreed to have dinner with me." When she drove me home, we sat in her car outside my building, neither of us quite ready for the night to end. "Can I see you again?" she asked. "I hope so," I said, "because I really enjoyed tonight." "Me too," she said softly. "Harper, I want you to know that this is not casual for me. I would not have asked you to dinner if I did not think this could be something real." "It already is something real," I said. "At least it is for me." She reached over and took my hand, threading our fingers together. "Then we will figure it out. No pressure, no rush. We will just see where this goes." "I would like that," I said. She walked me to my door, and at the threshold she hesitated. "Can I kiss you?" she asked. "Or is it too soon?" Instead of answering, I leaned in and kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. When we pulled apart, we were both smiling. "That was worth the transfer," I said. She laughed. "High praise." "I mean it," I said. "All of this. Everything that happened. It was worth it." That was 8 months ago. Now Adrienne and I have been officially together for most of that time. And while we are careful to keep things professional at work, everyone has figured it out anyway. Turns out we are not as subtle as we think we are, even in different departments. Sometimes I think about that morning I sent her the wrong photo, about how one stupid mistake led to the best thing that ever happened to me. I think about how terrified I was walking into her office, convinced my career was over, only to discover that she had been feeling the same impossible attraction I had been hiding. She still has not let me live down the photo incident. Every time I take a selfie now, she makes a joke about checking the recipient before I hit send. But she also looks at me like I am the most important thing in her world, and that makes every moment of embarrassment worth it. So yes, I accidentally sent my boss a photo that was definitely not meant for her. She texted back asking me to come to her office, and I thought my life was over. Instead, it was just beginning, because sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the best outcomes, and sometimes the person you think is completely unattainable has been hoping you would take a chance all along.